I want to tell you about a woman whose story I came across in a research discussion. She started Ozempic 18 months ago. First 4 months, remarkable. 20 pounds gone. The food noise in her head, almost silent. Then it stopped. Without warning, the scale did not move. The hunger came back. She was eating exactly the same way, and the drug felt like it had simply quit on her. Her doctor said, "Your body is adapting. This is normal. Try eating less." She tried eating less. The scale still did not move, and she ended up in the place millions of people on these medications reach, frustrated, confused, and blaming herself. On May 25th, 2026, NIH researchers published a study in Nature Metabolism. Using fluorescence imaging, they watched, in real time, for the first time ever, exactly what semaglutide does inside individual brain neurons. What they found gave that woman's plateau a specific biological name, and it was not her body giving up. It was her neurons protecting themselves. Today, we are going into the brain science of the Ozempic plateau, the hidden muscle trap, the mental health surprise, the Stanford discovery that may change everything about how these drugs are used, and 5 specific steps based on 2026 research that can support and extend what Ozempic does in your brain. Let us look at the evidence. If you have been on Ozempic and hit a wall, the NIH just watched in real time exactly what happened inside your brain neurons. And for the first time, your plateau has a specific biological name. GLP-1 medications are now among the most prescribed drugs in the world. Over 40 million people have taken semaglutide in some form. The market is projected to exceed $150 billion by 2030. In Pakistan and India, doctors are seeing more patients ask about these medications every month. In the United States, there were shortages for over a year because demand outpaced supply. In the UK and Australia, national health systems are debating whether to cover them for everyone who qualifies. But here is the reality that most of those 40 million people eventually face. Ozempic works, and then it slows down. For most people, weight loss plateaus somewhere between 4 and 12 months. The food noise, the constant background chatter of hunger that was beautifully quiet starts coming back, and the drug that felt like a breakthrough starts to feel like just another thing that worked for a while. Until May 2026, nobody could see exactly why at the cellular level. The NIH study changed that, and what they found completely reframes the conversation about what to do when Ozempic stops working. The mental health finding is remarkable. However, the finding that most doctors are skipping, the 20 to 40% muscle loss reality, may be the most important practical discovery for anyone on these medications. And once you understand why that happens, you will never look at weight loss the same way again. Before this study, scientists knew which brain regions Ozempic targeted. They knew it acted on GLP-1 receptors in areas connected to hunger and appetite. But what happened inside the individual neurons, at the molecular level, was almost completely unknown. Claire Gao at NIH used fluorescence imaging to change that. She watched, in living brain tissue, what happened inside individual neurons as semaglutide arrived. The key discovery? Ozempic works by raising a molecule called cyclic AMP, or CAMP, inside neurons in the area postrema. That rise in CAMP is the actual biological signal that tells your brain to stop eating. The area postrema sits in the hindbrain near the brainstem. Crucially, it has no blood-brain barrier, so GLP-1 drugs can reach it easily, and the neurons there receive the drug's signal directly. But here is what nobody had seen before. Not all neurons responded the same way. Some neurons, the researchers called them marathoners, sustained their elevated CAMP for a long time. Their GLP-1 receptors stayed on the surface. The drug kept arriving. The appetite suppression continued. These neurons kept doing their job. Other neurons, the sprinters, gave a brief burst of CAMP and then collapsed. Because they internalized their own GLP-1 receptors, they pulled the antenna inside, degraded it, and shut down their ability to receive the drug's signal entirely. It was not an all-or-nothing phenomenon. the research team noted. Some cells sustained, others lost it, and the balance between these two populations is what determines whether Ozempic keeps working. If you have more sprinter neurons than marathon neurons, your plateau is not a failure of willpower. It is a biological defense mechanism. Your neurons protecting themselves from what they perceive as overstimulation. That is the plateau, not your body giving up. Your neurons pulling in their antennas. If your Ozempic plateau has stalled, your first instinct is probably to eat less. The 2026 research shows that is likely the worst thing you can do, and the reason why involves your metabolism in a way most people have never been told. The NIH team did not just identify the problem, they identified a target. Inside the neurons that receive Ozempic's signal, there is an enzyme called PDE4. PDE4's job is to break down CAMP. It is essentially the molecule that turns the stop eating signal off. In marathoner neurons, CAMP stays elevated despite PDE4. In sprinter neurons, PDE4 wins, CAMP falls, the antenna comes down, the signal is lost. So the researchers asked, what if we block PDE4? They introduced a drug called roflumilast, a PDE4 inhibitor, and they found that blocking PDE4 shifted neurons toward the marathoner pattern. More neurons sustained their signal, fewer pulled in their antennas. In other words, blocking this single enzyme may be able to extend Ozempic's effect, keep more neurons active, delay the plateau, or potentially break through one that has already formed. Roflumilast is not a new drug. It is already approved for lung disease. This is early research done in mice, and more work is needed before clinical application. But it is the first time a specific molecular target for the plateau has been identified, and that is a significant shift in how scientists now think about extending GLP-1 therapy. The CAMP molecule controls Ozempic's effects. The PDE4 enzyme destroys it. Scientists found a way to block PDE4, and the results in extending weight loss may change how GLP-1 drugs are prescribed within the next few years. For millions of people struggling with a plateau, that possibility could change everything. I want to tell you about a finding that nobody was looking for. A woman in Helsinki started semaglutide for weight management. 6 months in, she noticed something unexpected. Her anxiety, which she had managed with medication for years, had quietly dropped. She mentioned it to her doctor almost as an afterthought. Her doctor had been hearing the same thing from other patients for months. Researchers at the University of Eastern Finland decided to investigate systematically. They tracked thousands of people taking semaglutide. During periods on semaglutide, psychiatric hospital visits dropped by 42% compared to periods without the drug. Depression risk was 44% lower. Anxiety disorders reduced by 38%. And there was a significant decrease in substance use disorders, addiction, among semaglutide users. These researchers were studying weight management. They found one of the most significant mental health signals in recent pharmaceutical research in a drug marketed for diabetes and obesity. The biological explanation connects back to the CAMP mechanism. GLP-1 receptors are not only in the area postrema, they are distributed across brain regions involved in mood, reward, and anxiety regulation. The same CAMP signal that suppresses appetite appears to also modulate those systems. This is not a recommendation to take Ozempic for depression. It is a reason to understand that these drugs are doing something in the brain that goes far beyond appetite control, and that the full picture of what they do is still being discovered. The NIH found why the plateau happens. But a Stanford study published June 2nd, 2026 found something else, a drug that may solve the muscle loss problem simultaneously. And together, these two discoveries may completely change how Ozempic is used, not just for weight loss, but for what happens to the brain, the body, and long-term health after the weight comes off. Here is the finding that most doctors are not emphasizing enough when prescribing these medications. Research indicates that 20 to 40% of the weight lost on semaglutide can come from lean muscle mass, not just fat. This matters more than most people realize. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. It burns calories at rest. When you lose muscle, your resting metabolic rate drops. Weight loss becomes harder. And when you stop the drug, The weight you regain tends to be fat, not muscle, which leaves you worse off metabolically than before you started. This is also why eating less when you plateau is the wrong move. When you crash diet on top of a GLP-1 medication, your body increasingly turns to muscle for energy. Your metabolism drops further. The plateau becomes harder to break, not easier. Now, here is the Stanford development. On June 2nd, 2026, researchers at Stanford identified a new class of drug called APGDHI, a 15-PGDH inhibitor. The clinical candidate is called MF300. In studies, this drug was found to enhance muscle repair and restore strength, even during the rapid weight loss caused by GLP-1 medications, by activating the muscle stem cells responsible for tissue regeneration. This research is in clinical trials. It is not yet available, but together, the NIH AMPPDE4 discovery and the Stanford muscle repair finding represent the most significant advances in understanding and extending GLP-1 therapy that have ever been published. The drugs are getting smarter, and understanding the science behind them means you can make smarter decisions right now, before those advances reach the clinic. Because the future of weight loss may not be about taking more medication. It may be about understanding how the medication works and how to work with your biology instead of against it. I want to say something that I think is missing from almost all Ozempic coverage. These drugs are being prescribed at a historically unprecedented scale, often with minimal guidance on what is happening in the brain alongside the injection. Most people are told, take the injection once a week, eat less, move more. Almost nobody is told about CAMP, about sprinter neurons, about PDE4, about the muscle loss ratio, about the mental health effects that may appear or disappear when the drug stops. In Pakistan and India, these drugs are being accessed, in some cases, without medical supervision. People are stopping abruptly because the cost is too high, experiencing full weight rebound as fat without understanding why, and starting a metabolic cycle that is harder to break than before they began. This is not a criticism of the medications themselves. The research shows they work. The mental health findings are remarkable. But a drug that directly modulates CAMP signaling in brain neurons, that affects mood, addiction, and appetite simultaneously, deserves to be understood by the people taking it. The NIH study is the beginning of that understanding. Your plateau is not a personal failure. It is a molecular event. And molecular events can be addressed if you know what they are. Let me put the whole mechanism together simply. Think of your area postrema neurons as a network of radio receivers. Ozempic is the signal being broadcast. CAMP is what the receiver produces when it picks up the signal. And that production is what tells your brain to stop eating. Marathoner neurons keep their antenna up. They keep receiving. CAMP stays elevated. Appetite stays suppressed. Sprinter neurons pull their antenna inside. They stop receiving. CAMP falls. Appetite returns. PDE4 is interference in the signal. It degrades CAMP even in neurons that are still receiving. Blocking PDE4 removes the interference. The signal inside each receiving neuron gets stronger and lasts longer. Your natural GLP-1 system, the one Duke discovered in your pancreas, is a low-power version of the same broadcast running in the background all the time. Supporting it means the signal to your receivers never goes fully silent, even as the drug's direct effect fluctuates with receptor internalization. And muscle, the metabolic engine, is what determines whether the weight you lose comes off as fat or tissue. Without the muscle signal, resistance training, and protein, the broadcast finds fewer and fewer listeners, and the metabolic rate that made the weight loss possible quietly disappears with them. You have been told, eat less when you plateau. The research says eating less accelerates muscle loss, which drops your metabolic rate, which makes the plateau harder to break. The right move is protein first, not calorie restriction. You have been told the plateau means the drug stopped working. Increase the dose. The research says increasing dose delivers more drug to neurons that have already internalized their receptors. The molecular issue is receptor availability, not drug quantity. Supporting CAMP through lifestyle is more targeted than simply escalating dose. You have been told liquid calories are fine. The drug suppresses appetite anyway. The research says sugary drinks, Alcohol and high-calorie beverages bypass the GLP-1 satiety mechanism entirely. They add calories without triggering the area postrema response. They are one of the most common silent plateau contributors. You have been told, stop the drug when you reach your goal. You will maintain. The research says when semaglutide stops, the brain's receptor system returns toward its pre-drug state. Without the habits, protein, resistance training, natural GLP-1 support already in place, most people regain within 1 to 2 years. Stopping without a maintenance plan is the pattern most associated with full weight return, based on the 2026 research and connected findings. Whether you are on Ozempic, considering it, or have stopped taking it. Step 1. Protein at every meal. Every single meal. The 20 to 40% muscle loss finding is the most underreported risk of these medications. Protein is the primary tool for preserving lean mass during weight loss on GLP-1 drugs. Women should aim for 25 grams of fiber daily and prioritize protein. Chicken, eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, fatty fish at every meal. Men target 38 grams of fiber and similar protein focus. This is not optional. This is the metabolic protection the research identifies as most critical. Step 2. Resistance training 2 to 4 times a week. Not optional. Even 20 to 30 minutes of bodyweight exercises at home counts. Squats, pushes, pulls, core. Resistance training sends the biological muscle preservation signal. Without it, the weight you lose includes the metabolic engine that makes future loss possible. With it, the weight you lose is primarily fat. Step 3. Support your natural GLP-1 system. Duke University found your pancreas makes its own GLP-1. Foods that support that natural system: fermented foods, fiber-rich vegetables, eggs, fatty fish. These keep the background appetite signal active, even as receptor internalization gradually weakens the drug's direct effect. Your natural system is the safety net under the pharmaceutical one. Step 4. Eliminate liquid calories completely. Soft drinks, fruit juices, alcohol, high-calorie coffees. These bypass the area postrema response that Ozempic depends on. They add significant calories without triggering the satiety mechanism. They are the most common hidden saboteur of GLP-1 treatment and the easiest to remove. Step 5. If you stop the drug, do not stop it cold. The rebound pattern is well documented. The brain's natural appetite regulation does not immediately compensate when the drug is removed. A gradual reduction, with steps 1 to 4 already established as daily habits, significantly reduces rebound risk. The drug is a bridge. The habits are the destination. Burning the bridge before you reach the other side is the pattern that leaves people worse off than when they started. 4 things the 2026 research has confirmed. 1. The Ozempic plateau is a molecular event, not a personal failure. Sprinter neurons internalize their receptors. The CAMP signal fades. And PDE4, the enzyme that destroys CAMP, is now a specific molecular target for addressing it. The science is moving. 2. The muscle trap is real and underreported. 20 to 40% of weight lost can be lean mass. Without protein and resistance training, the long-term metabolic outcome of these medications may be worse than the number on the scale suggests. 3. Ozempic is doing something significant in the brain beyond appetite. 44% lower depression, 38% lower anxiety, a notable reduction in addiction behaviors. These were not expected. They are documented, and they matter for how these drugs should be understood and prescribed. 4. The drug is a tool, not a solution. The habits around the drug, protein, resistance training, natural GLP-1 support, no liquid calories, determine whether the tool builds something durable or temporarily patches something that breaks when the tool is removed. I think about that woman who hit her plateau and was told, this is normal. It is normal. But normal now has a name, and a name means we can do something about it, rather than just accept it. Your brain on Ozempic is doing something remarkable. It deserves to be understood, not just prescribed. I started this channel because I believe the people trying to understand themselves deserve real science, not marketing, not fear fear, not oversimplification. The actual research, clearly explained. Whether you are in Pakistan or the US or the UK or anywhere in the world, what the NIH discovered in May 2026 belongs to you. Understanding what is happening in your brain on these medications is your right, not a privilege reserved for medical professionals. If this changed how you think about the plateau, about what your neurons are doing, please subscribe and hit the bell. New brain science every single week. And I want to make sure you do not miss what is coming next. Tell me, are you on Ozempic or know someone who is? Have you hit the plateau? What did your doctor tell you? Drop it below. I read every comment. And your experience might be exactly what someone else needed to understand what is happening to them.